What's up guys? If you're new here, my name is Campbell. Welcome to my channel. Here's something that I've said on this channel before. There are two things in my mind that separate pro guitar players from amateurs. One is good bending intonation and the other is good vibrato. In this video, I want to expand on that first thing, bending intonation. If you have good bending intonation, that means that when you're going for, let's say, a whole step bend, which is bending up 2 frets, that means that anytime you do that, you are matching the pitch of that note almost perfectly every time. I don't think I have to explain why that is a desirable skill to develop. But this past weekend I was playing a wedding gig, and during the sound check I was just making sure that all my pedals worked, making sure that I was happy with the onstage sound, and I was noodling around with some blues licks. And I caught myself doing something that I realized I'd been doing for some time but hadn't really thought about up until that point. I was playing blues licks with a couple of bends in them, and I was intonating those bends so that they were deliberately out of tune. And I thought to myself in that moment, I guess I've been doing that for quite some time now. I thought about it a bit more and came to the conclusion that it's just one of those little things that I must have subconsciously adopted over the years from listening to players like Clapton, Bonamassa, B.B. King, the list of blues players goes on. Hence the topic of this video, why you should bend out of tune sometimes. When you play licks with bends that are a little bit out of tune, it adds what I would call character to your playing. Character, to me, is made up of the little quirks that people inject into their playing styles. I want you to imagine that there's a guitar player out there that has 100% perfect, clean, pristine technique. Everything that they play is always bang on the grid, in time, and in key, on pitch. Every bend is pitched perfectly. Imagine that. Boring. Who wants to listen to a player that sounds like MIDI playback on Guitar Pro? Not me. Don't get me wrong, I love players that have good technique and control of the instrument, but who also do things that most would not regard as perfect technique, but rather character. Throwing in little bends here and there that are a little bit out of tune falls into that category. So here's an example of what I'm talking about here. So you've just heard me demonstrate the out of tune bends in context over a backing track, but let's take a closer look at what's happening. We're in the key of A, using the A minor pentatonic scale, and we're going to be working out of the 4th position of that scale. If you don't know all the positions of the minor pentatonic scale already, you can learn all about them in my first course. It's called Bulletproof Guitar Player Part 1, Master the Fretboard. The link is in the description box below. Back to the lesson. What I'm going to do to begin with is just intonate the bends correctly for the sake of showing you guys where they occur in the scale. And then later on, we're going to look at how I go about intonating them incorrectly. But again, I'm going to be doing that on purpose to add character to the lick. So here's what the correctly intonated version would sound like. And again. So I'm starting with an immediate whole step bend and release from fret 15 on the B string. And that's preceded by this sort of banjo roll thing that I'm doing on fret 14 on the D and G strings. So I'm using my fingers for this lick, so there's no pick involved at all. And I'm plucking the D string with my thumb, followed by the G string with my index finger, and then the B string with my middle finger. And again, that's a whole step bend, so I'm going to be intonating to a note that is 2 frets higher. And then I'm going to release that bend, of course. So here's that same thing once again. And then the second bend is a half step bend from fret 13, which I'm going to play with my index finger. So I'm just bending up a semitone, the distance of 1 fret. So again, that sounds like this. And then I'm going to end on fret 14 on the G string. And then after that, you can kind of just do whatever you want to do. Now, to play these a little bit out of tune, it's really simple. Instead of fully releasing the bend on fret 15, I'm going to stop the release just before the string returns to its natural resting position. And then when I pull off to fret 13, I'm going to still keep that B string slightly bent and then perform the half step bend. But when I do it the out of tune way, it's more of a very slight microtonal bend. I'm just bending the pitch up ever so slightly on that last bend, so let's listen to that. Now, there's a couple of reasons as to why I've not tabbed out this lick for you guys. One is because it's really simple, you know, it's all within this one position of the scale. Fret 14 on the D and G strings, fret 15 and 13 on the B string. And the other reason is that this video is not about a specific lick, it's about playing out of tune bends here and there. So you could play it like this. Or basically what I'm getting at here is that you could play this in a number of different ways, and it would all depend on, you know, what you were playing it over. So you don't even have to do the banjo roll thing. You could instead go, or it doesn't really matter what you do before or after the bends. All I really care about is intonating them in a way so that they're sitting in this sort of weird microtonal space that exists between frets. So there you have it. There's something that you can use in your rock, blues, and even country licks to add a bit of character to them and therefore prevent them from sounding too stiff and robotic. And I will stress that, in my opinion, you should really only throw in a few of these licks now and then where you're bending a little bit out of tune, because if every bend that you play is out of tune, then people are just going to think that you can't intonate a bend correctly and that you don't have a good ear. Anyway, you can check out the links to my courses in the description box below to learn more about the minor pentatonic scale, as well as several other music theory concepts that can be applied to the guitar. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you feel like you learned something new, then please do give it a like, share it with your guitar playing friends, click subscribe for more content like this in the future, and I will see you all in the next one.